Hello everyone, welcome back to the Aspergian Journal. Friendships and loneliness are very common issues that autistic people have to face on a day-to-day basis and can have a negative impact on their lives, despite them having strong desires to build meaningful and authentic friendships with others and not having to face the dark and anxious path of loneliness on their own. Lack of friendships is a major cornerstone of the autistic spectrum, as autistic people struggle with developing friendships with others and commonly have low social skills and awareness when it comes to building a rapport with others. For neurotypical people, they tend to have no severe problems with building relations with others or suffer any deficiency in social skills, as they grasp the nature of building rapport with others more naturally, and they have like a second human instinct where it just comes natural to them. And in some ways, they take their natural social abilities for granted, where on the other hand, for autistic people, this is a skill that does not come distinctively to them, and it is something that that has to be learned the hard way. Growing up as an autistic child and teenager, I've always been a bit of a loner, a bit of a Billy No Mates, as I struggled with relating to my peers out of fear and misunderstanding for coming across differently to everyone else and lacked the social skills to be able to make childhood friends. Mainly at this time, I always got on better with people that were older than me because I always found the value of connecting with people that had more life experience than me, so I could learn and be able to apply that learning and advice into my own situation and to be able to grow as a young individual for it. This was very prevalent when I was put into mainstream schooling at the age of 8, as my IQ fell outside the remit of the autism specialist school I was at beforehand. Going into primary school and then into secondary schooling, I was basically bullied and that as a child, and that for basically being different. And this made me feel really isolated and started the process of questioning my autism and applying pressure on myself for basically trying to fit in and be accepted by society, even though it felt like society treats and sees autistic people in a different and negative light. This shows that life isn't always fair, and it tells you to battle on with resilience and determination to wherever you want to go in life. As the years went by and getting into early adulthood, even though I did have some small-time friends at college and university and also at activity groups and that I would attend, I still did not have any close, long-lasting friendships. People that are there for you and you are there for them. You know, people that you can rely on and they value you as a person for who you are, and they are there for you at your highest and lowest in life. A lot of motivational speakers, backed up by science, will tell you that learning to be alone and use your time productively can enhance your life greatly and be able to achieve your goals more better. However, Humans naturally are social creatures, and they do need that human to human interaction, regardless of how individuals perceive success, or if they are introverted or extroverted in nature. And autistic people are no different. They still need close interactions with people that bring fulfilling conversations and connections that are based on values, principles, and shared interests. People that just bring chaos and negativity with them can just go away. I know to a lot of people, their negativity is shaped on their past experiences and traumas that they most probably have suffered and that when they were children. But you can't allow your past experiences stop you from striving forward. As autistic people struggle to build friendships with people with just using small talk, they prefer to build deeper connections with people through their shared interests and areas of life that they can relate to. Autistic people, yes, they do thrive on solitude and having routines where they can thrive and regulate their thoughts and emotions effectively. You know, one autistic person might find participating in their favourite sport helps, whereas another autistic person might like listening to music or reading a book. And how they deal with their emotions is as unique as the individual. What applies for one person might apply differently for someone else. Also, autistic people, they don't get sarcasm or jokes very easily, myself included. You know, they just don't understand the nature of jokes and small talk, and that they value friendships that are built on mutual respect, understanding for one another, and defending what is right against what is wrong. As autistic people are more likely to have a higher moral compass than non-autistic people do. And this philosophy, along with many other factors, serves as the foundation for healthy relationships. As I got further into adulthood, my ability with connecting with other people did get a lot better, but I still lacked in those close friendships. And this is where autism can be a gift and a curse. And I think that is a sentiment I think that a lot of autistic people can relate to. Like there is it's a gift where it can bring new perspectives and experiences to potential friendships with two or more people, and a curse where misunderstandings can take place in terms of the autistic person's intentions and the unwritten rules of social interaction. And this is maybe one of the reasons why I started the Aspergian Journal, is to hopefully meet new people that share similar shared interests as I do, and hopefully build potential good friendships with like-minded people. Hence, that's why I keep referring back to, building a supportive and collaborative community that thrives on, empowerment and inspiration. That is the main objective, really, of the Aspergian Journal. And that's, I'm hoping, as time goes on, as more and more people, watch these videos and read my newsletters on Substack, hopefully that impacts and that will start bringing people more and more together. Having a lack of friendships does increase the likelihood of autistic people to suffer with deep feelings of loneliness. Loneliness can be a negative experience when you don't have fulfilling connections with other people, and you can feel isolated or rejected and that by society. According to the Office of National Statistics in the UK, 27% of adults reported that they felt lonely always, often, or some of the time. 7% of adults reported that they felt lonely always or often, and 20% reported that they felt lonely some of the time. Also, the National Autistic Society, the main charity for autism in the UK, states that autistic people are 4 times more likely to experience long-term loneliness compared to non-autistic people. When you add those figures up, it comes to around 54%. And when you apply that number with the total population of the UK, for example, over 50%, more than half the population, and that suffers with some form of loneliness. And that demonstrates that we are living in a loneliness epidemic. And you could really apply that formula to any other country, and you'll start to develop a bigger picture of how lonely people are across the world. And there's really no signs of it easing or turning the other way for the better. For autistic people, it's like a double-edged sword when it comes to managing and combating deep feelings of loneliness. Many autistic people do need alone time to regulate their sensory overload stresses and compartmentalise their thoughts of the day that they've just experienced. I mean, for myself, I do have to have alone time when it comes to regulating my emotions and just, be able to calm myself down when my sensory overload gets overwhelming. When I was a child, handling very busy situations and that were nearly impossible. But obviously as times got better and I've got older and maturer, I've been able to learn to manage those situations a lot better, and I can manage them better. But there's always going to be like a level where enough is enough. It's like the bucket of you can only fill it so high before it gets to a point where it just overflows. And that's when, in visual terms, you've got to turn the tap off and release some of that pressure. And that is very similar with loneliness. But when you are in a deep state of long-term loneliness, where the autistic person has little to no close friends for a variety of reasons, it can be very distressing to the point where that person can have symptoms of depression, or in worst case scenarios can have suicidal thoughts. Now, you might think that that's maybe extreme, but if you put yourself in the shoes of the autistic person and imagine the adversity, societal challenges, and the lack of self-worth they are feeling or they've experienced at some point in their lives, non-autistic people, neurotypical people, they just don't give autistic people the compassion, time and encouragement that they need to get through life and feel valued and loved for who they are as individuals, and not having to face the false societal perceptions and that is put upon them. And as I've mentioned, loneliness and that can be heavily influenced by someone's overall mental health and their mindset, towards life. And I have referred to this in a previous newsletter where I talked about mental health and anxiety and how they relate to autism. So please do refer back to that newsletter and that to give you a bit more context about how does mental health relate to autism. For me, loneliness and that has been a very emotional journey to manage and hopefully combat it entirely in the future. From being a child and growing into an adult, I have had moments where I felt worthless and questioning what was wrong with me and why doesn't anyone want to be my friend? You could say that this has been a bit insecure, but it's more than likely, for me, it was that constant fear of rejection and being on my own all the time. Despite having moments where I need that alone time to be able to, deal with my sensory overload stresses, but that doesn't mean that we want to be on our own all the time, and we still need people around us, family, having a partner, and friends, and that value you as a person for who you are, and they don't question you or they don't make you feel worthless, in how society treats autistic people. And I've witnessed this on numerous occasions over my 30 years of living. So it just, and that's why I feel very strongly to be able to be an inspiration and be a leading voice for autistic people, which is what encompasses one of the core foundations for me wanting to start this journey of the Aspergian Journal. I remember when I was 18 and I was suffering with, real bad anxiety and depression at this time, because of, questioning my autism and dealing with the challenges and the bullying that I suffered at school. It always felt like there was a constant dark cloud above my head and I was just lost with what to do next. I did experience having thoughts and feelings of wanting to take my own life, but I never got to the point physically of wanting to actually do it, which, thank the Lord and all of that, I had the internal strength to not let my anxious state get so bad that I actually want to physically attempt taking my life. But just having the thoughts in your mind, and that is just equally terrifying. And it manifests itself in a way of having this massive realisation of just how bad my anxiety got at that time. And I needed to take, positive and constructive steps, to overcome it. It has taken me the best part of the last 10 years to fully overcome most of my anxiety to the stage where I feel more better and I'm more efficient about managing it and cultivating an abundance mindset where I focus on personal development and feeling good on the inside whilst letting go of the need to control everything, especially when things are still out of where they're out of our control. I still get anxiety every now and then, and I can be a bit prone to getting overwhelmed with things, and now that sometimes might not always be good for us, like maybe watching the news so much on TV or on social media, where like current affairs, and it's just it's so overwhelming and depressing to a certain point where where to be honest, I just try not watch any news altogether and try and limit the amount of time that I'm on social media and just focus on the positives in life, like, you know, the stuff that I'm working towards, like my goals and dreams and that I want to achieve, and everything that I'm doing with this current project and that I'm doing now. But that process from going from being, you know, having that negative mindset and having overloaded anxiety where you're getting yourself that bad, you know, going from that situation to adopting a more positive and an abundant mindset, that is an art form in itself. And it's not something that is easily achievable. It takes a lot of hard work and determination to get there. So the question is now, what tips would I give to you when it comes to developing and managing autistic friendships and combating loneliness are as follows. Number 1, align yourself with your values and special interests to find groups of people that relate to you. When wanting to develop friendships with others effectively, I feel it's very important to be well aligned with your values and special interests, as these can determine the quality of potential friendships that you can have. And I always believe in quality over quantity. It's better to have a very few quality friends that bring you joy to your life and people that you can rely on, rather having a large number of friends who are only there when they want something from you, as they see you as a soft touch, and are never there when you need them the most. In the world of social media and online conversations, I feel these optics make people more selfish, and it creates this culture about me, instead of showing compassion and consideration for others. Like myself, autistic people, we just do not have time for mind games and those that show disrespect towards others. I would rather connect with people who bring intellectually stimulating conversations about topics that I can enjoy or I can relate to. For example, I could easily have discussions with people who served in the army, and they tell me stories about how they relate and how that relates to my knowledge of history. Like World War II, the World War II era. There's all, you know, when you listen to different documentaries or read another book or go to places like Eden Camp in North Yorkshire, which was a previous Italian prisoner of war camp, and you read all the stories about what happened in that time period, it just strengthens your own understanding of that era and makes you more knowledgeable by doing so. I've always believed that you can always learn something new from people that have more life experience than yourself, only if you are prepared to listen and ask the right kind of questions, as well as reading between the lines of what they are telling you about life. Because sometimes if you read carefully and you know what you're looking for, sometimes they're actually telling you things about life and that which you should take on board to make your own life more richening in terms of experience, being more knowledgeable, showing compassion towards others, and just basically being in the bestest of health. One of the biggest regrets that older generations do have is that they did not spend more time doing the things that they were more passionate about, or, trying different experiences because they were too focused on being at work all the time and providing for their families, which I know is natural and I know it's an honourable thing, but you can't deprive yourself of good experiences which can enrich your life for the better. Number 2, never allow your current state of loneliness cloud your reality and dictate your future self. Like combating anxiety and mental health, any thoughts and feelings of loneliness that you have are only a temporary state and doesn't determine you as a person overall and the future that you're wanting to build. I know shaking deep feelings of loneliness is hard and can leave you in despair, and this is something that even I have to still keep fighting on, even to this day. Most of the time, I just change my psychological perceptions of these thoughts about being lonely and feeling worthless, and always remind yourself that you are worth a lot more than what your mind is telling you. Our minds can be our best friend and our worst enemy in equal measure. It is down to each and every one of us to be able to snap out of this cycle of negativity and grasp it by the neck like a dog on its lead into the direction of where we want to go in life, which will look differently for every person. A good exercise that can be beneficial to overcoming loneliness and anxiety in general is the art of manifestation. Manifestation is an act of visualising what you want to happen in life by refocusing your energy and attention towards it. I will do another newsletter about manifestation and how it can benefit autistic people another time. Mindfulness is another good visualization tool to help focus the mind on things that bring us joy at times when we are in a state of overwhelming anxiety. And I have mentioned this in another newsletter about autism and mental health, so please do refer back to those. And I will keep referring back to this in future videos. So even though I might have done a topic about mental health, about communication, and about friendships individually, even though I've already done a video on and a newsletter on them, but that doesn't mean that I won't refer back to them in the future, because they all interlink with many other topics about autism and about how and having a fully independent and enriching life, and not allowing our limiting beliefs to minimise our potentials. These exercises, along with journaling, which is the act of actually writing down our thoughts, positive and negatively, so it can alleviate the mental strains that we put ourselves under, I have found them to be really helpful when it comes to mitigating my negative thoughts and refocus the mind on positivity and establishing or reaffirming what goals I have in life. Number 3, never give up and focus on the intrinsic values you have, and the right people will come to you. Despite all your best efforts and putting your best foot forward with engaging with others and working towards building friendships, you can't always force the issue, and it can be seen as needy and desperate by others. As the old farming saying goes, you can provide the water troughs and the food feeders, but you can't force the cattle to drink from them. The same philosophy applies to friendships. You can't force people to like you or become best friends with you. I know it is frustrating for autistic people, as they do want to be liked and valued by others, but they don't get the time or the compassion from others that they desire. I had those same feelings and frustrations as well. You know, starting from early adulthood and into my early 20s. When you're a child, a lot of the time, and I was living in my own world, and so I didn't really think much about socialisation. But I think children and that, if they feel isolated and don't have close friends with them, and that, they'll feel loneliness as well. But I think really what starts in your childhood will then will manifest in that as you become an adult. And then that's how you end up with unresolved trauma or issues that you just have to address. And I think we've all had experiences like that, or we're currently dealing with those issues even as of today. And I think it's just important that you can't run away from your problems. You got to face them head on. As I matured as a young adult, I came to this realisation that not every person you meet is going to be your best friend, even though you'd like them to, and sometimes let's say that goodwill and that is not always reciprocated in return. And to combat this disappointment, you just got to refocus your efforts on becoming the best version of yourself, and just don't let anything or anyone stop you from achieving the goals and dreams that you want to build, and build them with confidence. People naturally gravitate towards people that exhilarate confidence and are intentional with their actions. So don't be afraid of being you, and ignore what other people might be thinking because they don't know the real you, or they can't control, and you can't control what other people think. So why stress or get anxious about it? Just focus on being you, right? And the right people will come to you. I mean, that is the science of the universe. Whatever you perpetuate out comes back to you, and that in return. So just focus on what you can control, and don't get anxious and stressed out about the things and that you can't control. I know it's easier said than done, and I've been there myself. But believe you me, once you grasp that concept, and you're able to get to a state in your mind where you can focus on yourself and what you want to achieve, your life will be a lot better and more enriching for it. Trust me, it will. Upon reflection, autistic people can be amazing friends to others, and they do display loyalty, mutual respect, and special interests that can benefit other people. However, with society being blind and arrogant towards autistic people and focus heavily on their neurotypical connections with others online or in person, this can leave autistic people feeling left out of building genuine conversations and and it limits their abilities to build friendships with others, who of which, they might share those same special interests and values that autistic people possess, but unintentionally they're denying the autistic people the opportunities and that to be able to showcase, their potential. Despite the difficulties and challenges that autistic people face when trying to build friendships, they do have the utmost desire of wanting to form connections with others, especially if they are relatable in terms of having the same shared values and special interests that the autistic participant in those conversations have. Loneliness, is a double-edged sword, and it can be troublesome for autistic people for not only managing the symptoms that comes with it, mentally and physically, but to successfully overcome those destructive feelings and thoughts so they can, breathe a sharp and focused mind and this unwavering determination to strive greater in life like never before. And that is the end goal, really, of this, of this entire project I'm working on. Is to show that autistic people can achieve more and have greater potential than what their limiting beliefs are telling them. It's okay, people, wanting to, raise awareness about autism. But then when you do get to that point, where do you go from there? Do you just stay where you are and nothing changes? Or do you actually think that actually autistic people can achieve a lot more than just awareness? We need to be teaching autistic people that they can do more, and with empowerment and inspiration, and for me being a leading voice on these matters, I feel that that they can go on to achieve far more, a lot more, far greater than what they could even believe in themselves. Like myself and my journey, I never felt that I was going to be able to go to college or university or strive to trying to build a career in accountancy before I started doing the work and that of the Aspergian Journal. Anything is possible if you believe in yourself and you put the hard work in, to achieve that. Also, embracing and adopting, manifestation, mindfulness and journaling, and I will discuss these things and that in another video and a newsletter, because I feel that they are very good, strong complements and that for autistic people, and I feel that we can delve into this a lot more deeper. Autistic people, they can create a visualised roadmap of what their goals are and what they want to achieve out of life. And I think it's really identifying those small compounding steps that they need to take, to conquer their struggles and live their best lives. And that's important. And finally, and I want everyone to remember this: never stop believing in yourself, and God is on your side. And if you put the conscious hard work effort in, the universe is limitless. And I think you can go and far and wide in life as much as you can if you put the effort in. And you don't know where life will take you. Life is full of surprises. So I would say embrace it, enjoy the journey, and see where it takes you. It might even surprise you more than it does those now that are close to you. As always, thank you.